All right, so here's three things to consider if you want to be a community college teacher. Okay, so specifically community college. Okay, and so to me, I think the most important thing is, are you willing to teach the basics? When I transferred to UCSD from Maricosta, I encountered professors that really did not want to teach. They did not want to teach introduction to sociology. They refused. Or introduction to ethnic studies or whatever. They did not like those classes. They wanted to teach classes that were specialized around their dissertations and their current research, and then they wanted to work with graduate students. That was their main deal. But for us here at community college, you have to be willing to teach the basics, right? And this is what I mean by basics, is that over 70% of community college students are assessed into pre-transfer math or English, okay? And so, I mean, think about that, right? That's really going to have an effect on how you teach, right? Or it better have an effect on how you teach, or else you're going to be failing a lot of students and then wondering why, right? And one of the things that I figured out is that a lot of community college students, that they don't know how to read for content, right? This is no disrespect to them. It's just in the K-12 system, a lot of reading, a lot of writing wasn't emphasized. And so when they come here, right, especially if they're in the pre-transfer level classes, that they don't know how to read for content. And so that's something to really make sure that you're doing, what you're teaching. And then helping them formulate their own thoughts. This is something that I value very specifically. And, and if you look in my textbook, I have spoken word poetry in there, and I use all these multiple methods in order to really try to help students find their voice, their actual, real, honest voice, rather than, the voice that the teacher said was the best voice or whatever. I want them to try to explore what their real voice is, right? And so that's me, though. But like I said, community college teachers, you gotta want to teach the basics. You gotta love the basics, and I love to teach introduction to sociology. I absolutely love it, and so I'm just telling you, you gotta love this stuff, right? You gotta love the basics. The other one, can you deal with our level of diversity, right? This is not a disrespect to anyone. This is, again, what community college is. You're going to find a lot more poor people and people of color here. Okay, period, point blank, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, here's the deal. And that when you talk about poor people, there's plenty of poor people, spread around through the university systems and stuff like that. But I think it means something very different for community college students, being poor and being people of color, and for you to not be able to afford your test books, let's say. And so, I mean, because think about that, right? It's like if I got into UCSD and I couldn't afford my textbooks, honestly, I would be thinking is probably, well, I can't afford my textbooks. Let me, prioritize which textbooks I need and which books I need and whatnot, right? But when you're a community college and you're already skeptical about being at college, it's like this, you tested into pre-transfer math and English, and you're taking this college level class, and you're thinking, and then you find out you can't afford the book right away. In that particular case, it's not just about prioritizing money. It's now you're thinking, do I even belong here? And so you got to be willing to talk to that student, to be able to teach to that student, the student that doesn't feel like they belong here, and try to encourage that student to be successful. Now, whether they're successful at college or not, to me is irrelevant. But to help them understand that they are smart and that they're capable, that is something that we all, as community college teachers, I think we need to have in the forefront of what we do. The other part of what we have here at community college is that we get older people. Here at Maricosta, the average age is about 26 years old, which is kind of funny, honestly, because we don't have a whole bunch of 26-year-olds running around on campus. It's like, that's not the mode for any statistics people. It's like, that's not the number that occurs most. What you see here at a community college is a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds. That's a huge number right there. And then you get larger numbers of 30 and over people. Right? And so people who are coming back from careers, or people who have got laid off, people who are finding themselves back into, trying to get a promotion and things like that. And to me, they are a gold mine. Having older students in the class is always beneficial. To me, right? Especially now that I'm older. I'm 46 now, and there's very rarely a student that's older than me anymore. When I first started teaching, that happened all the time. There were students that were older than me all the time. And it was a little bit awkward. I'm going to tell you straight up. It's like having them call me professor or doctor or mister. That was weird. And they're older than me. That was kind of weird. But now I'm cool with that because, like I said, I'm older. And so there's not a whole bunch of people that's happening with. But the wealth of their experiences, those are the kind of things that you want to embrace. You want to embrace diversity, right? You want to embrace the differences in age. You want to embrace their experiences, right? It's like a lot of this older students are also veterans. You can use that in order to bolster up your class rather than steer around it, right? And then the last thing that I would say that would determine whether you should be a community college teacher is, are you committed to the success of our least successful students, right? And that's really important for us to think about, because community colleges were established on this idea called student equity, meaning that we are here for the poor, the tired, the weary, huddled masses. Sound like the Statue of Liberty stuff, right? But we're here for that demographic of people, right? We're not here necessarily for the students who are ready for college and whatnot, because quite honestly, look, if you were ready for college straight out of high school, most likely you would be at a four-year college. And so besides financial things, I can't imagine why that student wouldn't be at a four-year college, right? And so then when you're here, you have to embrace this idea that we are here for the tired, weak, and weary. We are here for the poor. We are here for people of color. We are here for women, to encourage them to go into STEM. We're here to encourage men to go into the humanities. Like, that's what we're doing. Our job is to engage the underdog, right? Which honestly should be, I mean, this is as American of an institution as we could possibly have, built around the idea that college should be accessible to everyone, and whatnot. I mean, and look, I'm not a big proponent of egalitarianism or whatever, but at the same time, this space dictates that we try to look out for and try to uplift the people who have been held back and held down for the longest time, or simply don't have the confidence to be able to improve themselves and to think well of themselves in an educational environment. And so anyway, so those are the things that I think of when I think about a community college teacher. You don't have to agree, but if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put those down below, right? If you like what you're hearing, subscribe and share, and check me out at brucehoskins.com in order to figure out more about who I am and what I do. Peace, y'all.